To see somebody who is a wannabe, an image man, stand and take an image and lace himself in a uniform and try to build that image for a political purpose or something other than something that's real. When a friend of mine died, when friends of mine died, they gave the ultimate sacrifice and they sat in a foxhole and they did so without a name. And their name is only remembered on the Vietnam Wall.
There are 58,000 names on this piece of stone. Some volunteered. Most had no choice about going. But it seems that for a privileged few, there was a special route to safety. George W. Bush's birthday is July 6, 1946. Same as William H. White and 24 others. They went to Vietnam and didn't come back.
We were sent there to defend our liberties, and to find out that the politicians who sent myself and the other young men to put our lives into harm's way were working a personal, selfish agenda instead of a national agenda is anathema to everything that we fought for and stood for. And the whole system has been turned on end. We have the weak leading the strong.
I got my hands on a letter from someone who explained how the draft dodge fix was done. It says, George Bush leaped over thousands of young men, some of whom died in Vietnam. So I tracked down one of the guys named in the letter. He confessed to the whole thing. He said he made the call at the request of someone acting in the name of Congressman George Bush Sr. Not surprisingly, he wouldn't repeat the confession on camera.
That's all it took, the mention of your name, and all my love for you burst into flame.
It hurts me to this day to think that we would be manipulated or that they would abuse their authority. They'd stand on television in a suit in front of 14 waving American flags or on the flight deck of an aircraft carrier in a flight suit and be called a leader.
Midland, Texas. In 1950, a Connecticut Yankee named George Herbert Walker Bush Sr. arrived into town with money bags filled with $1 million from his family to buy himself a piece of Texas. And he ended up with the whole enchilada. George Bush Sr. quickly parlayed the family's eastern banking wealth into Texas oil gushers. George Jr., with his military career at an end, decided to follow his father into the oil biz. That's when George met David Rosen, Midland oilfield wildcatter, a guy who drills holes and takes his chances. So David, I understand there's some members of the oil crowd here that are in a special club.
Well,
what's it called?
Okay, there's the Lucky Sperm Club. You know, those that were lucky enough to be born into a family with substantial resources. If you have access to capital through your family contacts, it's very easy to become successful in the oil business.
So this is where it began for our president in the oil business.
That was where I first met George, when he had his company Arbusto.
What does that mean?
I believe Arbusto means small bush. This was George's card that he gave me. And it's really telling that although his name was George Bush Jr., he quickly dropped the Jr. And of course it's George Bush, President, Arbusto Energy.
But Arbusto went busto, as did many of his other oil ventures. So George Jr. switched to the family's other line of work, politics.
Good to see you. I'm George Bush, running for the Congress. I'm George Bush. Nice to see you. Let's make it official. I'm a candidate for governor of Texas.
By 1995, George W. is living here in the Texas White House. He's governor of the Lone Star State, but he wants the bigger house. It's an ambition that's in his blood. But he'd have to know that in a presidential campaign, his war record would come under the microscope.
I've been scrutinized as the son of the president. I scrutinized when I ran for governor in 1994, and I'm darn sure being scrutinized now.
The scrutiny would center on his Air Guard war record. Specifically, did he go AWOL when he was supposed to be on duty at an air base in Alabama? Some Vietnam vets believed he was missing in action.
We're here today to offer a $1,000 reward to anybody who bring tangible evidence to us, records showing us that he attended guard duty while he was here in Alabama.
No one's claimed the reward, so where was George?
I think you ought to listen to what the general said, who was in charge of my unit, and he said there was no preferential treatment given.
I took a walk just down the road from the governor's mansion to the building where you'll find all the files on soldiers and airmen. Camp Mabry, HQ of the Texas National Guard. This is where the Vietnam War records of fighter pilot George W. Bush were supposed to be kept. But someone seems to have tampered with them. Who did it? And how did they cover it up?
This is 28 years of a military career, all boiled down to paper. This is the retirement points. All of these.
But Bush's military records are oddly incomplete. What happened to those papers? Lieutenant Colonel Burkett was working in the Air Guard headquarters at Camp Mabry, talking with the general, when a telephone call came in from Governor Bush's people.
They wanted to assemble all of the governor's files. They wanted to make sure there was nothing in there that would embarrass the governor. That's as accurate as I can put it.
And you heard that off the
Yes.
voice box yourself?
Yes.
Now, they wouldn't go along with a call from a politician and actually clean the files, would they?
Yes.
They would?
Yes.
Did they?
Yes. And there were several documents, and I saw that they had George W. Bush's name at the top of them. And this was a bin that was about to be shredded. Specific document that I do remember was a pay document. A second specific document that I remember was a retirement points document. That, in fact, might explain some tremendous gaps in the record. It makes no sense. This was during the Vietnam War, yes. And did he show up for training? There's no documentation at all that he showed up.
Are you saying that the president may have been AWOL, taken off during the war?
If you look at the definition of absent without leave.
The president may have been AWOL, taken off during the war?
If you look at the definition of absent without leave.